My name is Scott Houston. I'm an account manager with Infinity Sign Systems here located in Kansas City, Missouri. Pretty high intense job with safety. They're dealing with outdoor elements and not sitting in an air conditioned office. We are constantly watching the weather forecasts with the local news stations and apps such as 41, KSHB. We're always looking at the weather because it changes every 5 minutes it seems like, and that really affects our business. So we have to stay on top of it.
KSHB 41 weather, the forecast for your everyday. News starts right now.
Thousands of fired federal workers might be getting their jobs back, including some right here in the KC Metro. We'll break down the ruling from a judge. And also right now, people are making their voices heard at a public meeting on possible KCATA bus changes. Reporter Charlie Keegan is breaking down where bus service funding comes from and how the changes could impact you.
Certain places I can't even go to now.
How much harder does that make it for you?
Very hard. My baby girl's in the hospital. I can't even get over in Independence to go see her now. So what I supposed to do? Catch a helicopter?
Okay, well, we'll catch up with Caitlin here in just a second here. But it looks like great weather out there, absolutely.
Yeah, 79 degrees right now out there at the Truman Sports, or pardon me, out at Power and Light. Downtown's at 79 KCI. Also in the upper 70s. We officially hit 79 degrees for the high today, so here we are. We're at that high. Expect another warm day tomorrow. Temperatures tomorrow morning near 60. Lunchtime it's 75 degrees outside, but by 4 o'clock, that's when there may be a line, could be a broken line of thunderstorms capable of producing severe weather, moving very quickly through Kansas City. And even without the thunderstorms, we're expecting more strong wind, which will be probably doing damage in terms of power outages. Non-thunderstorm wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour possible. And yes, even though there's rain, it may not be a lot of rain. In fact, thunderstorms may spark fires, and then with the strong winds, it could have a quickly spreading fire as well. And yes, there will be a little bit of rain, so we may briefly have some wet roads. This is all happening on Friday. All happening on Friday. I'll give you better information on the timing of the thunderstorms and who has the best chance of seeing severe weather for the whole area coming up.
Thanks, Wes. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to immediately reinstate thousands of employees at federal agencies. The probationary employees were fired last month as part of the administration's effort to rapidly shrink the federal workforce. That included hundreds of workers in our region, including IRS employees and faculty at Haskell University. The local IRS union tells us between 60 and 80 workers could be reinstated, and we're working to reach out to other impacted workers as well. The judge's order applies to half a dozen federal agencies. He said he might extend it to cover other agencies later. All right, so we're looking live here at a public meeting hosted by the Kansas City Area Transit Authority. They're talking about potential reductions in bus routes. Yesterday, we learned that the agency could cut 13 bus routes, impacting more than 6,500 riders. We have a crew there right now gathering information and listening to those voices there. There's a virtual public meeting scheduled for tomorrow at noon. If you couldn't make this one, you can find that link to the meeting on KSHB.com. And I talked to KCATA's board chairman the other day about why they say these service reductions could be necessary. They say it all comes down to money and that it can't be on Kansas City's back alone.
In order for us to provide regional services for all, there has to be a partnership in funding the services of the KCATA and the Ride KC for the region. It can't be borne solely by Kansas City. It can't be borne by the smaller communities because the service costs for transit is as they are. But this highlights a peculiar issue that has been here for decades, in my opinion, that there needs to be a sustainable revenue stream, and we're having conversations consistently with the state and local and our county jurisdictions and how we can navigate that.
So tonight we want to take a few minutes to understand how the KCATA gets its money. KSHB 41 News reporter Charlie Keegan walks us through the numbers.
There are a lot of components that go into funding the bus routes all around Kansas City. So we wanted to take a look at how they all fit together. The KCATA gets its money from the cities where its buses roll and from state and federal sources. This year, federal money in the form of COVID relief ran out. It's gone. And cities like Independence and Raytown cut back their contracts. The Mid-America Regional Council studied how KCATA expenses have gone up while those revenues have gone down.
They're paying their drivers more than they used to be competitive, to be able to attract and retain them. But other operating costs, fuel and other just general expenses have increased as well.
Here's what could happen. KCATA could make cuts to routes and drivers. To avoid drastic cuts, some KCMO council members want to give the KCATA more money than they had planned this year. And the KCATA told me it's committed to right-sizing or making some cuts no matter what. We're still a long ways away from a final answer. Charlie Keegan, KSHB 41 News.
Thank you, Charlie. And reporter Isabella Ladon will have more from that meeting that we saw tonight at 10. All right, so turning now to the Big 12 tournament, let's get on out to KSHB 41 News anchor Caitlin Canute live at Power and Light. So Caitlin, what's the vibe out there right now?
Well, it's pretty packed and it is pretty darn loud, that's for sure. That's why we're wearing what we call in the business cans, because otherwise I don't think I could hear anything. Behind me right now, and I do hear from my crew who was here last night, it's even busier tonight than it was last night. But down below, you see a lot of blue, a lot of red for Jayhawks fans, also a lot of crimson and gold for Iowa State fans. Even though they lost to BYU, they are still hanging out. In fact, I talked to one family who drove here from Des Moines. They said they're going to stay and make the most of their trip and enjoy what Kansas City has to offer. So if you can hear the music behind me, that's actually the Arizona State pep rally taking place behind me, sporting some kind of Where's Waldo outfits. They're getting ready, of course, for that quarterfinal game coming up tonight with KU. Not to worry, it's not just all about Arizona State here. KU is having its own pep rally that starts at 5:30 tonight. So those two teams, again, as I said, are going to be facing off in that quarterfinal matchup. They have the late game playing at 10:30 tonight. So take a look at your screen right now. Here's what the updated bracket will look like. Earlier today, as I mentioned, Iowa State lost to BYU. It was a close game, but in the end, they just couldn't pull it off. A lot of disappointed Cyclone fans here. I have one at home, a big Iowa State fan in my household. The number 1 seed Houston beat Colorado. Baylor and Texas Tech tipping off at 6 p.m., followed by that game, KU and Arizona. Now, this year's tournament, keep in mind, will be one of the last ones in Missouri without sports betting. KSHB 41 News reporter Todd Palmer is live at FanFest. And Todd, we know you talked to some out-of-town fans who were surprised they couldn't gamble on the games, right?
That's right, Caitlin. Missouri voters legalized sports gambling last November, but it hasn't gone live quite yet. And that has left some unsuspecting out-of-town fans learning a hard lesson about life on a state line.
That's crazy how it's split between the two.
From Tucson, Arizona, the Abada family can be counted on to follow their Wildcats.
As long as U of A is playing, we're here.
They're enjoying Kansas City.
I think it's pretty clean, pretty fun. You know, it seems like there's a lot to do. District over here in the corner seems like pretty interesting.
Not being able to wager on games in Missouri is the Abada family's only complaint.
Checked into the hotel and looking at apps and found that out pretty quickly.
Realized that we had to take some scooters and cross the state line over the freeway just so we can do our betting.
It's a 2.5-mile round trip to Kansas where sports gambling is legal, and you can bet the Abadas made the trek.
Every day we've been going over there in the mornings before all the games.
So this is probably the 3rd or 4th time we've gone.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th time we've gone over there, and we have 4 games throughout the day. So I mean, it's kind of a hassle having to go back and forth.
Devin and Jaden say it's worth it.
I mean, we're 0-2 right now, so I mean, not yet, hasn't paid off yet, but hopefully today, fingers crossed.
They weren't the only Big 12 fans scrolling through gambling apps and frustrated by Missouri's betting laws.
It is terrible. We got here, we're like, are you kidding me?
We will be in Kansas next year. We will be getting our Airbnb in Kansas.
But that won't be needed. This will be the last Big 12 tournament with sports gambling outlawed in Missouri.
So next year when we come back, we will be able to use DraftKings and FanDuel and all that good stuff.
Next year, all Big 12 fans will have that chance. So the Missouri Gaming Commission had planned to roll out sports gambling by the end of June, but new Secretary of State Denny Hoskins made a decision that's going to delay that timeline a few months. Still, the state law requires that sports gambling be operational in Missouri by December 1st, 2025, which is in plenty of time for next year's Big 12 tournament. Outside the T-Mobile Center, I'm Todd Palmer, KSHB 41 News.
All right, thank you, Todd. By the way, I want to point something out behind me here. So we're on the balcony above the main floor. On the opposite balcony, you see lots of teams being represented here, and this space is doing a really great job of catering to different teams, including Texas Tech. You're going to see more fans here wearing Texas Tech. They actually had a little pep rally earlier this afternoon, and the reason why you're seeing more of that here is thanks to none other than Patrick Mahomes. Coming up at 6, Leo Shea Becker is exploring the unique relationship between Kansas City and Lubbock, Texas. So again, as you come back out here live, we couldn't ask for better weather. My photographer and I, we were chatting. Sometimes it feels like it's 90 out here this time of year. Sometimes it's 1 degree. I'm glad that it's the former. It's a little bit warmer. A perfect night to get together and watch some basketball, Sarah.
Absolutely perfect. I'm so jealous that you get to be outside, so thank you for that. All right, a new scholarship program that just expanded to Kansas City aims to give recovering addicts a second chance. KSHB 41 News reporter Lanita Brooks first brought us this story about the program late last year, and so tonight she's following up with that story with the recipient of the scholarship.
My older sister had cancer and was going to lose the battle, and I didn't feel it would be okay for my parents to have 2 sick kids.
That was the moment Christy Robertson realized that she needed to make a change in her own life. As her older sister was losing a battle she couldn't control, Christy was losing one that she could.
I didn't want to put my parents through any more heartache. They'd had enough.
She was addicted to alcohol, and after years of drinking, she had reached her breaking point.
I started pretty early, and I just really never quit. I think it was, I don't know that it was a choice, it was just a lifestyle.
While her sister was in the final stage of her illness, she got sober and hasn't looked back since. Today, she celebrates 9 years of sobriety.
I'm currently pursuing a doctorate in community leadership for equity and inclusion from the University of Central Arkansas.
That's thanks to a program called The Next Step, a nonprofit that gives scholarships to recovering addicts.
People say, really? All I have to do is stay sober and go to school and you'll help me pay for it? And we say yes.
The program started in St. Louis 20 years ago and just expanded to Kansas City last year.
Everything from culinary school, massage therapy school, traditional associates, bachelors. We also fund master's and PhD degrees.
The program requires you to be 1 year sober, have a part-time job, and be active in a 12-step recovery program. Even convicted felons can apply. Christy believes the best thing you can do is bet on yourself.
What if I don't deserve it? You absolutely do. You've survived 100% of the day so far. What's one more? Just take the next right step.
The application deadline is April 1st. In Kansas City, Lanita Brooks, KSHB 41 News.
We're not going to bend. We've been ripped off as a country for many, many years.
President Trump vowing to uphold tariffs despite some fluctuations in the stock market. What it means for your retirement savings and other investments.
For a second day in a row, I uphold a 10 out of 10 on the Eat Outside Index. Temperatures lower to middle 70s for dinner. It'll be this temperature for lunch, but it won't be this EOI for tomorrow. The forecast coming up.